Did you know that there are 13 million children in the United States that are hungry, or 1 in 5 children suffer from hunger? Today's guests are no stranger to this fact. Tina Kramer and Shawnee Knight, the founders of Filling in the Blanks, both grew up with food insecurity, and I'm so excited to share their incredible journey of what they're doing now to make an incredible difference in our world, especially for children in the United States that are suffering from hunger. I am so excited today to have Tina Kramer and Shawnee Knight here from Filling in the Blanks. Welcome, ladies. I'm so happy to have two founders. It's 2 for 1 today, so welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We're really excited that you're here. So, Tina, do you want to jump in and tell us a little bit about what Filling in the Blanks does?
Sure. So Shawnee and I started Filling in the Blanks 11 years ago. And what we do is we provide food on the weekends to children that are struggling with food insecurity. So we provide a bag of food for the kids age preschool through high school that receive meals during the week at school, but don't have anything over the weekend. So we're covering that weekend meal gap.
That's amazing. So we're going to get into how you guys started it. But before we do that, Shawnee, why don't you just tell me, and I'm going to hear from Tina too, a little bit about your kind of philanthropic journey growing up. Did you grow up with philanthropic family? Were you always really involved with the community? Kind of what were you doing before this, and what kind of led you a little bit to this path before we get to the actual story?
Yeah. So, my family was always thoughtful of other people, but we didn't do a lot in terms of, being out in the community as much as Tina and I are now.
Right.
But, I grew up in a single family household. And so I kind of understood, I was on the free and reduced lunch. And so I understand the pressures that these families are facing. And so I think that really was kind of the motivating, one of my main motivating factors for now being in Fairfield County. There's so many different volunteer opportunities, so many different ways to give back. And so I, just found that to be something was kind of my forte into it. Now it's full time.
Right. Well, there's always a path. We don't just like wake up and start nonprofits. There's always a journey. So Tina, what about you? How did you grow up? Did you have any like role models, or were you always involved with the community? What's kind of your background with philanthropy and charity?
So I grew up in a similar household as Shawnee. I had a single mom who worked all the time. And then my grandmother pretty much raised me. So there wasn't really an opportunity to give back to the community at that point in time. It wasn't within our normal day to day. So when we moved to Connecticut, there are so many volunteer opportunities here. And that's where I really learned about volunteering, being on school boards, going to different nonprofits to find out what my interests were. And so it really opened up more of the volunteer experience when I moved to Connecticut as an adult and a mom. And
I love that.
Shawnee and I, we decided that we wanted to do something together. And that's how we founded Filling in the Blanks.
Well, and I love that because I think sometimes people think that they have to have had a roadmap, as a childhood map, to get you there. And it's never too late to start. There's always a moment. There's always an opportunity to give. And there's always a season in our life where we have a full cup and enough to share, right? It's an evolution. It's not something that's constant and staying. It evolves as we evolve, I think. And I think that's great for people who think, oh, I didn't grow up that way, so I wouldn't even know what to do. But you guys just dove in. So talk to me about 11 years ago, what happened. Most of the hundreds of nonprofit founders I've interviewed can kind of say that defining moment or something that happened. Almost always there's a couple little crumbs that lead to this path, because as we talked about before the conversation, this is really hard work. And it's really hard work. And what you're doing is incredibly ambitious and and challenging and rewarding and all those wonderful things. But talk to me about that moment 11 years ago when you said, we need to do this. What, and whoever wants to jump in or however you guys want to share.
Yeah, so we were riding with a friend into the city, I think, and we were just talking about sports and our kids, and she was saying how her son plays on this team, and the other students on the opposing team don't often have snacks, so they would bring snacks for the other team or kind of do like this kind of meal and food kind of situation sharing. And I was kind of like, wait a minute, there's kids in Fairfield County that don't have food. Like how, I don't like that. I was like, wait, I don't understand. That
Right.
can't be possible. Look
Right.
at where we live. It's so,
Right.
it's such a beautiful area. And I think Tina and I were at the age too, where our kids were getting a little bit older. So we were both trying to find something to do. We were next door neighbors. And so we just, we'd thrown around a couple different ideas, wanted to open a bar, which that got shot down. Tina wanted us to
That sounds
camp.
fun.
Yeah.
I'd
She
like to
wanted
be
to
your
camp, and
neighbor.
I was like, no way, no camp. And so we kind of, we did some research and learned like there really are food insecure children in our community. And for us, the thought of of a kid going without food is just like shameful.
Right.
It's just wrong, kind of.
And-
I don't know, it's-
Right. The richest country in the world. How can we have childhood hunger? How is this possible? Right.
Yeah. And then there's so many things I think like food and family meals bring. It's an opportunity to talk to your kids. I enjoy that time with my kids when they were little. And, so we just wanted to provide that path for other children and for other families.
And so, Tina, what happened? So you guys are brainstorming, you're talking about things you can do, and you're like, oh, we're just gonna feed a couple million kids on the weekends. Like I'm thinking we're missing a step. I'm thinking there's a couple things that happened. So what was the process? Like what you went from an idea, and then how did that talk us through that?
Sure. So we saw an article in a magazine about a nonprofit that was a national organization that provided food on the weekends to children. So we became program coordinators. That was our first step. So we did the fundraising, we did all the purchasing, but the national organization was more of the parent company.
Okay.
So we would give we would give them our fundraising efforts, and
Right.
they would pay us back, reimburse us. And we are very type A. We are very gung ho about projects we work on. And so we decided after probably 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know, that we could do this on our own. So we used the information from the national organization to
Right.
kind of structure how to run a nonprofit, because neither one of us had ever run a company or any kind of nonprofit before. So that was our stepping stone to filling in the blanks. So we learned how to incorporate ourselves, trademark our logo,
Articles of incorporation, bylaws.
Yes. So we
Right.
surround ourselves with good people that can help us structure all these things. And they helped us with the documentation, and we went with it. And we started packing bags in my house. We started with 50 kids, and we were tying grocery bags, going to the dollar stores and Costco, and loading our trucks up, our Suburbans up, which we're dragging on the floor with thousands of pounds of food. And we just learned as we went. And so very grassroots in the beginning.
And you know what? That's how all of them start. I mean, I did hear, I've only interviewed one person. I didn't even know this existed, but I guess Nonprofits for Dummies there actually is a book, and I have interviewed one person who read it. But no one I know knew about it. I didn't know about it when I started. No one knows what they're doing. We have this impetus to help, and we know there's a need we need to fill and a gap that we have somehow can do. We are all type A. I swear every single, it's definitely something that's part of it, because you kind of have to be. You kind of have to be. But everyone dives in the deep end of the pool and figures out how to swim. And that's just the way it seems to be. But we're entrepreneurs also, right? And I think people take that away from us a little bit sometimes, because we're not necessarily getting paid in that way. We certainly didn't get into this for the money. That was never anyone's inspiration who's done this work. But it is incredibly hard work. So talk to me about some of those challenges, especially early on, because
I
Starting
think,
a business is hard, let alone one that relies on the kindness of others, right?
yeah, yeah. And I think definitely like finding, food suppliers and finding families and reaching more families. And, you know, we needed to get a warehouse because we could no longer just be in a living room. We had too many kids and, you have to store these bags and, you just need more of a structure for that. And so I think, there were challenges just in doing and getting things done and like realizing people don't get things done as quickly as we wanted them to necessarily get done.
Right.
Like we're not about the red tape. It's like, no, we need a truck. I need it now. I need it. Let's go. Like,
Right.
where's the
I
truck?
have hungry kids. I have kids
Yeah.
waiting to be fed, right?
Yeah. So I think some of that, I think, some of the biggest challenges we face now are reaching more parents because there's definitely, still a lot of parents don't know about us in the towns we're in, about, to tell them about our services. And then I think, procuring food and food costs rising because we
Costs.
purchase all of our food.
Right.
So, we're fundraising to buy food. And with food costs going up, we have to fundraise even more.
I mean, food costs are what, up 33%, something like that? If it's somewhere in there. And you think about when we're setting our fundraising budgets, we're looking at what we raised last year and we're thinking, okay, I can raise 10%, 15, 17% more, but you don't think you're going to raise a third more, and your costs have just gone up a third. I mean,
Mhm.
eh, it's I don't want to say it's not sustainable because we find ways around things. I run a summer youth leadership program, so I run the camp, not the bar you didn't open, but the camp. And I run the camp, and we had to change locations because we looked at our costing structure. We've been this place for 25 years. I'm like, and it was the food cost. It was
Yeah.
the food cost that drove us away. So I understand the choices that you have to make, and they're incredibly difficult choices you
Yeah.
have to make sometimes. It's not always easy. So talk to me what fuels you. I mean, obviously you have kids, you have laundry, you're driving carpool, you've got a life, you have all the things we all have. But then you have 2 million children that need to eat besides the one at your own table. And you have to keep going. And there are days where you're like, I don't know how I can manage this. I mean, we all have those days we just think, but when we have a project that's due or we have to manufacture more things, it's one thing. But when we have someone who's not going to eat because we aren't doing something, there's a different level of something on our shoulders that not the average entrepreneur, I think, necessarily carries that we carry. And so, what fuels you on those days to kind of keep picking up and moving forward?
Well, I don't think we mentioned this earlier, but Shawnee and I are both volunteers. We don't get paid to run filling in the blanks. We have a real desire to help the kids because we both, at some point in our lives, dealt with food insecurity. One of us in our childhood, the other in our adult life. And so that really fuels us because we know what these parents are struggling with and how hard it is just to wonder, can I feed my child today or do I have to pay the electric bill?
Right.
So it's really ingrained in who we are. But we have a great staff that surrounds us and a great group of volunteers. We have a leadership committee of about 10 people, mainly women. And then we have 11 employees, full-time employees that really help with the day-to-day.
Right.
But besides that, the bags we're packing, we have 7,000 volunteers come through our
Yep.
doors on a yearly basis.
Wow.
So it's not just Shawnee and I and our desire, it's our community, and we're all lifting up our community and the surrounding communities, and that's really what fuels us. We are a volunteer-based organization through and through.
Well, and at the end of the day, that's part of our job as nonprofit founders is to create community. That's what we really do. We identify a problem that's in our community and then we create a solution around it and bring people together and connect them. And we're so passionate and excited that everyone wants what we're having, like Harry Met Sally, like they're like, "Oh my gosh, I want to be excited like that." And that's part of our job. So talk to me about this horrible word that I love and hate, the word impact, because we all have to measure it when we're writing grants. We all have to look at how many people we're serving or how many volunteer hours we have or all these wonderful statistics. But impact sometimes um, is hard because how do you measure when a child is hungry and then all of a sudden a child is full and can go to school and can focus and all the things a child can do because they've eaten? I mean, that's immeasurable to me. So, how do you guys measure impact? And talk to me about what you think, both of you, about what you think that is, and maybe in different ways.
Well, we do a lot of surveys to the families, to the children, to the parents, to the social workers and teachers at the schools. So we're able to measure some of those ACE outcomes for students. And then, we track, the number of meals. So we've served over 3 million meals.
Wow.
Every week we have, 7,500 kids that get our weekend meal bags. We've launched our mobile food pantry, Fresh Food on the Move. And, we've been distributing about 20,000 pounds of food at each site, which they operate twice a month. And we've partnered with Stanford Health to provide various health and wellness wraparound services. So we're able to see how many people they register for those or how many flu shots they gave out. But, it is really hard we don't have access to kids' grades, obviously. So
Right.
it's hard to measure that, but we do measure things like the teacher saying that the child is less disruptive in class or, more secure. And we've had, a teacher tell us a story of this one child she had that just was like out of sorts at school. And she kind of made him in charge of helping her with the backpack club, as they call it, which is when they get their bags. And
Right.
she said, she noticed a change in his personality and his self-confidence was improved and, things like that. So we hear little anecdotal things like that. And then from our pre-program surveys and post-program surveys, we kind of see an increase in, I don't know, happiness or
Right.
wholeness, I guess, of a child's
The whole,
well-being.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's amazing when you think about. It seems so simple, and yet it isn't.
It's a simple concept. Everyone should have access to food and healthy food items. And our volunteers, like we had mentioned, they are little kids to adults. And we make sure that we can create volunteer opportunities for them to create an impact in the within filling in the blanks, excuse me. And so we've created snack bag programs in addition to our regular weekend meal program. So the younger kids can have a packing event at their home and pack 4 little snacks in a little brown bag that gets distributed to the kids too. So we're trying to make sure that our volunteers feel the impact that they are creating. And as Shawnee mentioned, we just started a mobile pantry back in October, and we're serving thousands of families through that initiative. And through that, we're able to communicate directly to the families and the parents. And they tell us the impact that the 50 pounds of food they get at the mobile pantry, that impact that has on their family. But also many turn around and now want to know how they can volunteer with us and how they can give back and how they can help. And that's just so rewarding. Just it comes full circle at
Full
that point.
circle, right,
Mhm.
and I was gonna say the ripple effect on all those little tiny hands that are stuffing all of those food bags and where and who they want to become and how they feel from doing that. I mean, that's an immeasurable impact to me, right? Those are things that we know we have a tiny cog and a tiny hand in change, but we'll never know. We'll never know the impact, but it's there, you just don't know what it is.
Right.
I
Yes.
love
Great.
that. Well, and that's how we get paid. I mean, I run a 100% volunteer organization. And like I said, I know we don't do it for the money, but you guys are volunteering. And the nonprofit that I founded, it was 100% volunteer, and I was a volunteer. So, I mean, there's an impact there too, right? There's impacts in so many different ways. So tell me what the big dream is for filling in the blanks, because you can't be an entrepreneur and start something without a dream. And obviously we are sometimes our own best and worst enemies because we keep moving our bar. This year we're going to serve 100, and then it's 1,000, and then it's, and on and on and on. And we keep pushing our own numbers. But what's the big dream?
Oh, for us to be out of business.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be the biggest dream ever, right? Just don't know how we're getting there yet.
I know. Somehow the need seems to be bigger than ever, right?
It really does. This year alone, we'll serve over 1 million meals. And the need is not going away. We'll probably serve about 10,000 kids this year every weekend, because we go through the summer too. So we created a year-round program for all. But our big dream is potentially, it's on the back burner right now, but either
Put it out there. Put it out
either
there.
it's a franchise to other states or communities, or do some drop shipping, sort of like a fulfillment center at Amazon, and then it's delivered directly to the schools. So we take away the need
Brilliant.
for additional trucks and drivers. So we're trying to figure out, how do we replicate or duplicate our program outside of our immediate area?
I love that. And I digress a little bit with this, but the nonprofit that I run, we were partnered with an MBA program at a college, and they took on our program, that the youth leadership organization that I run, and they're kind of doing a replica as their senior project, to kind of do our program in a box. So I encourage you to find some, or any grad students that are listening, or business school students that want to take it on, to partner with that, because it's been really fun to have outsiders look at how we do things to see how you can replicate it. And you never know what's going to come out of. These guys are so creative that you just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, fresh, new ideas, looking from the
Right.
outside in.
Right. So
Absolutely.
it's been a fun process to have that. So I'm just sharing that. But I think that we can do it. You guys can make that happen. I mean, in 11 years, you're feeding millions of people. I have no doubt that you're going to continue forward. So do either of you have like a phrase or a motto that you live by, or one of like something that's kind of like your credo?
One of our board members always said, and I kind of want to adopt his saying, is, if you can, you should. And
Oh,
that's kind of really encompasses filling in the blanks, because really anyone, a little kid to a senior citizen, can make a difference here. It's packing the bag, like you said, spreading the word, liking something on social media. It doesn't have
right.
to be dollars. It could it can be your time, even if it's 5 minutes.
Right.
So
I love that. I think we all need to adopt that one. If you can't, because I mean, I think part of culturally, our problem, and one of the reasons we have these conversations, is that our culture somehow in this place where we always think we don't have enough. And yet we don't look at it. We always look at the glass as empty. And we so rarely look at how full it is. And when you flip the script on yourself, you realize how much you have and how much you can do, and it changes everything. And I think we don't think that way enough. So I love, if you can, you should. I think I'm going to take it on too.
they'll be very pleased.
I think it's a good one. Okay, so Tina, I'm going to start with you. But what life lessons have you learned in the last 11 years since you've started this?
That people are good and they want to do good. And I come from nothing, and I'm not used to being encompassed or, embraced by a community. And this community that we've created together really has shown me how good people are and how they're always willing to help. And it's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And what about you, Shawnee? What do you think? What life lessons have you learned?
Oh, if you build it, they'll come. Like the Field of Dreams.
It is true. It is true. My first nonprofit that I started, our first benefit was that theme, Field of Dreams, on a baseball field. And it was right when the movie came out. So no one had really done that theme yet. And I remember being in the grocery store and having some woman come up to me and said, "I hear you're doing this benefit. Do you need any help?" And I said, "Oh, sure. Like what do you want to do?" And she's like, "Oh, I work for Kevin." And I said, "Kevin?" She goes, "Kevin Costner. Do you want him to sign things? What do you want?" I'm like,
Okay.
"Yeah, that'd be perfect." I'm in LA, but I just didn't even think anything about it. And all these little signs happen when we're doing the right thing that tell us to keep going forward. And if you build it, they will come was one of my signs to keep going. And Kevin, and they keep happening. I'm sure they happen to you as well, that you get these signs that you're on the right path and you don't know what they are, but they're so obvious that you're like, wait, what just happened?
Well, I'm still waiting for Kevin Costner to show up,
He didn't come to the benefit, but we did have the Angels and the Dodgers, and our logo was the Angels, and the whole Angels team came unexpected to our benefit. So we had it was crazy.
Amazing.
That's
yeah,
cool.
it was very serendipitous. So whenever I hear those words, I'm like, wait a minute. So how do you think you've changed? You girls think you've changed at all? Shawnee, what do you think? Do you think
Yeah,
you've
I mean,
changed?
I think so. I think we were probably nervous when we first started this, didn't know what to expect. You never know how much pressure you can take or how much weight your shoulders can hold. So I think we've grown a lot in that sense. I mean, we're running a really big nonprofit. I mean,
Yeah.
with a big operating budget and expenses and, so you never know how much of that stress you can take. And I think we've learned to stomach quite a bit of it.
Well, and you have each other, which is
Yeah.
which
It's
is
perfect. We're the perfect yin and yang.
I mean, it's so great because it is isolating in a weird way. I mean, it's not that it's a lonely job because you're with people all the time, but there's something about that pressure, that weight that we feel that feels like nobody else understands it. And you have a partner who actually does. So
Yeah. It's
I
good. I mean, that's a good thing. I think we've learned and grown a lot as we've, had to give presentations. We both hate public speaking, we end up doing it often.
Yes, we both had our turn where we weren't going to almost pass out during a presentation.
Yeah.
So we have each other to lift the other one up when we're nervous or we're unsure.
You
So,
guys need to come to our camp this summer because we teach all that public speaking and presentations. You can come and
oh,
join us.
send us a date.
I'll come to your bar and you can come to my camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Tina, what about you? How do you think you've changed since all this has started?
I think it's given me a lot more confidence than I had before. Never thought I could run my own business and didn't know how to read a spreadsheet. And now we're dealing, like Shawnee said, with a multi-million-dollar budget. And so it's given me confidence in who I am, not only here, but in normal life and at home. And it's just been a great learning experience over the past 11 years.
It's incredible. And I have to think that not only that, the role models you are for your own children, let alone for your community, but for your own children. Um, I think that that's pretty priceless as well because I know that they pay attention, they see it, and I'm sure that it's pretty remarkable for them to even witness and be a part of this and watch it and how it's probably changed your families as well.
Oh yeah, they started with us in the beginning. We used to make them come with us to the grocery stores and pick up food and pack it. And sometimes if we had to pack extra bags, it would just be us and our kids packing in a little house.
Yes, we've kept it all in the family for a long time. Shawnee's son works for us, my brother works for us. And our kids have volunteered for the last 11 years, whether they wanted to or not, but they have. Because that's the other side of filling in the blanks, because what we wanted to do was to show our kids that we kind of live in a bubble where we are in Fairfield County. And this
Right.
is not where it is everywhere. So
Right.
we want to make sure we created volunteer opportunities, not only for them, but the kids locally. And even if it's not their path to volunteer further in the food insecurity space, at least they know that they can make a difference, just a little difference here or there. And yeah, but our kids have gone through it all. Costco lines, loading those trucks.
But it's so good. The perspective, the gratitude, the gifts of hard work. I mean, those are life lessons that you're not going to get at school, that you're not going to get anywhere else. And those are the ultimate gifts we give our kids, to be resilient and to go out and to make the world better and follow in your footsteps, just changing things and making them better. One bag at a time, one meal at a time, one child at a time. So that's so beautiful. So tell us where and how we can support you, how we can follow you, donate. If we're in the East Coast, how we can get food to you, if we're a food company, all of those great things.
So if you visit our website, fillingintheblanks.org, you can learn all about our events, volunteer opportunities, how to make a donation, a little bit more about us. We are on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. That's it, right? Yeah. And we have a YouTube channel too with some videos.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you can make a donation at our website, fillingintheblanks.org. You can call us. Our number's on the website. If you're out here, you can stop by our warehouse if you're in the Northeast.
Yeah,
And
we're
if-
located in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Yep.
So
I
And if you're a
love-
food company, we have a loading dock, so you can drop off food donations to us.
Yay, 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 yay. I love that. I think that that's fantastic. Well, I love what you're doing. I love that your friendship and your passion and how you are inspiring all of us with the incredible work you're doing. So thank you for sharing your story with us today. It's truly such a privilege to know you. And I hope everyone listening is going to go to fillingintheblanks.org and find out how they can help and support your great work. So thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
you for having us, Heidi.
You're so welcome. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Charity Matters podcast. I so enjoyed talking to our guest, Tina Kramer and Shawnee Knight, about what it takes to start a business that truly changes people's lives. I think Tina's comment about if you can, you should was so inspiring and true. To learn more about these modern day heroes and entrepreneurs, or if you'd like to reach out to us, visit us at charity-matters.com or connect with us on Instagram at Charity Matters. If you enjoyed our conversation, we would love it if you shared it with your family and friends. And please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. But more than that, thank you for caring. Thank you for believing in goodness and for being a part of our movement. You are exactly what the world needs more of. Remember that together, we can make a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. Charity matters.